Kia ora. Today I have a little Te Reo activity using Scratch Jr, and it can be used for students to practice their greetings or other vocab, and also it could be used for them to share their understanding. The similar process could be used for any type of conversation. In the description under the video I will post a link to some notes on how this ties in with the digital technologies areas of the New Zealand technology curriculum. I've started with an example of the type of Scratch activity and then some step-by-step instructions. So let's start with the example. So to start with, we need to have installed the Scratch app, which is the little cat that you can see down in the bottom, and you can install that onto your iPad or onto your Chromebook. So I'll just open the app. Then I'm going to click on the house button, and I can click on the plus that is in the white rectangle to start a new project. Now, I don't want to have Scratch as one of my characters, although you certainly could if you wished. So I'm going to press and hold and delete that character. Now, so the first thing you can get students to do is to add a background. So up in the top center is the backgrounds. Students can create their own background by clicking on the paintbrush up in the top right. So they can then draw their background, or they can use the camera tool. If they click on the camera and then tap on the screen, you'll initially get a selfie view, which you can turn around, and then you can take a photo that you could use as your background. I'm not going to do that today. So if I go back to the backgrounds and scroll down to the existing backgrounds, I can choose one, and then I can start adding my characters. So in my first screen, I'm going to be just adding 2 characters. So students can decide which characters that they want to add. Because we're going to do a simple greeting from one person to another person, we need to just have 2 people. So we'll scroll down to the people, and we can choose one person and tick to add them, and then scroll down and find a second person, and again press the tick up in the top right to add them to the screen. So now we have 2 people. We're going to put them at opposite ends of the stage, because they're going to be walking, one's going to walk towards the other to greet them. Once we have our characters in place, we can start adding some code using our little coding blocks. So we're going to start off with the character on the left. It doesn't actually matter which one is chosen. One thing I will say at this stage is, throughout this process, try and involve your students as much as possible with the decision making. So asking them which block would you choose. If we want to make this one character move over towards another, which do you think would be the block that we would choose, for example? So I'm going to tap on the first character on the in the panel on the left hand side. That's this child, and you'll notice that that one has now the rectangle has turned orange, and down in the bottom panel we have that outline of that character. So now we can start adding our code for that. If we click on the purple menu button, we can drag down our speech bubble, and then we can add in the speech by tapping on where it says hi. We can then bring up our keyboard, delete what's there, and we can add in our new text. To get a macron over the E, we press and hold, which brings up the options. You slide your finger over and then let go. Same when we come to the A, can slide to get the character that we want. Then press go. So that, if we pressed it, would then give a little speech bubble for our person. We want this person to start talking when the game starts or the activity starts. So we'll go to the yellow menu button and we'll put in a flag. We can now tap on our second character in the left-hand panel, and you can see again that down in the bottom that character's outline appears, so we know that we're coding that person. They're also going to start on the flag, so we'll drag that down. But we're also going to get them to walk over towards the first person. This is going to serve two purposes. One, it sort of adds a bit of movement in there, but it's also going to allow a delay while the first person's speech bubble is up there before the second person is going to talk. So we'll click on the movement buttons, and we'll want the one to move to the left. So we'll drag that down. And in this case, it's a bit of trial and error. So get your students, don't tell them how many steps to put in, get them to have a little practice, trial and error. Debugging is part of the curriculum and testing your program, so get them to experience that. So we're going to tap that number. We're going to try 10 now. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set for this person, because they're going to be working, I'm going to set them a home place to return to at the beginning of the program. So up beside the green flag at the top of the screen, there is a blue circle with an arrow. So I'm going to tap that while I've got that character selected. I'm now going to add in that button on the far right of the menu panel, and this is the Go to Home button. And we've set the home by pressing that blue circle. So now at the beginning of the program, they'll always return to that same spot. So now we can add the speech bubble. So just in that purpley pink menu again, drag down speech bubble, tap on hi, backspace, and pop in our text. Okay. So now we're ready to add a second screen if we want to. We could just leave it at that if that's all we wanted students doing. But we can also add some more screens with some different vocabulary. One thing I would note at this stage is that if students are a little bit familiar with Scratch and have used it before, you can use a total problem solving approach where you set them the task, tell them what you would like to see in it, brainstorm with them ways that they could do that, and then just let them create the whole thing right from the start without giving them instructions, and then just troubleshoot as needed. That's certainly the better way if they have some knowledge of Scratch. So to add a background, over on the right hand side, I'm going to click the plus button and it opens up a new scene. I'm going to get rid of Scratch again, and I'm going to click the background up in the top center again and choose a background. I'm going to choose a different one this time and click the tick. Right, so now I have my background, I can add my characters. I'm going to add some different ones this time. So over on the left hand side, I'm going to click the plus, scroll down to where the characters are, and I'm going to add one on one side, and I'm going to add two more on to the other side, because in this one we're going to use Tēnā Kōrua, so we need to have two characters over there. So let's just get that last one. And I'm going to start with the girl on the left, who is going to walk over to the other two. Again, this is partly so that it allows time for the others to talk. So I'm going to start off with a green flag. Then a block to go to the right, and I'm going to make that 7 steps, and a speech bubble. So because she is talking to two people, we're going to have Tēnā Kōrua, and then we can look at the other two. So I'm just going to choose one of them to start with, and I am going to put in the flag, and I'm just going to put in a little time delay here. So in the orange blocks there's a little time, and that'll just give a little delay before they say anything. So in this case we're going to allow her to walk over and say hello, and then they're going to reply. And this is one way that you can do it. When you're just having one conversation, it's quite easy to do a little time delay. So then we're going to add the speech bubble. Okay, so I'm going to put the same code onto the second character, and I could just go in and put that same code on. Easiest way though is to grab it by the flag and just drag that up onto the character and then drop it. It clips back into place, but now if I click onto the second character, you'll see they now have a copy of that code. So now I'm going to choose another background to add another scene. I'm clicking on the plus over on the right hand side again, and going up the top to the picture for the backgrounds, and I'm going to choose a scene from there. So I'm just going to click on one and the tick again. I'm going to get rid of scratch as before, and I'm going to add some characters. So I've just speeded this up a bit and added my 4 characters. I'm going to use Tēnā Koutou in this one, so I need to have 3 or more characters on one side. So I'm going to start off with the 3 on the left, who are going to use Tēnā koe as their greeting. So I'm going to start off with the flag. And the 3 characters on the right, I'm going to add a speech bubble to the first one here. And as I did before, I'm going to copy that code onto the other 2 characters. And now I can work on the character on the right. And they are going to start off with the flag. Then they are going to move over to the right towards those other characters. I'm going to put in about 5 steps there. And now we can add the speech bubble. Okay, so now we have this finished. We could, if we wanted to, add in actual speech. So in order to do that, for a particular character. You can use the microphone when you want to start. Press the red button, tēnā koe, and then the tick, and then pop that in. You're going to have to do this for each of your characters though. You won't be able to copy this particular aspect of the code over. I'll show you what happens if I try copying this recording over to the other character. When it comes in just as the pop sound, not as the recording. So I'd have to record for each character individually. Okay, so that's the end of that program. Make sure you save. Make sure you've put a title in, and then click on the home button, and it will be saved there. And you can then share that project once it's been saved.